Today's video is sponsored by Nobility.co.uk, the leading company in selling legal titles in the United Kingdom. Get a 10% discount in any purchase by mentioning Death Row. Iran is the world's top executioner of women, with at least 16 executed in Iran in 2022. According to Amnesty International, 24 women were executed around the world in 2022. As aforementioned, there was a complete drop in the execution of women on drug-related charges after the 2017 amendment to the anti-narcotics laws until 2021. When 5 women were executed on the charges, consistent with the rise in overall drug-related executions. At least 3 were executed in 2022. At least 16 women were executed in 2022 in Iran. 13 were sentenced to kisses for murder and 3 women were executed for drug-related charges. The identities of 7 of the women are unknown. 3 of the women were Baloch, and 1 was an Afghan national. 5 women were executed for the murder of their husbands. At least 1 woman was a child bride, and 1 in a forced marriage. A woman had committed murder in self-defense against rape by her landlord. 3 of the women were executed in different prisons on the same day. None of the executions were announced by official sources. At least 188 women were executed between 2010 to 2022. Delara Darabi was one of the women executed in Iran in 2009. She was an Iranian Jalaki woman. Jalaks are a Caucasian ethnic group native to the south of Caspian Sea. They form one of the main ethnic groups residing in the northern parts of Iran. Jalak people, along with the closely related Talish people, comprise part of the Caspian people, who inhabit the southern and southwestern coastal regions of the Caspian Sea. Delara Darabi was born in Rasht on September 29, 1986. She was an artist who began painting when she was 10 years old. Before her arrest, at the age of 17, she was a pre-college student. Delara Darabi was arrested by police and transferred to the Rasht prison on December 28, 2003, at night. According to various reports, on this day, Ms. Darabi and her boyfriend, Amir Hossein Sotoudeh, entered a house belonging to a cousin of Ms. Darabi's father, for robbery. The landlord was murdered by several blows of a knife after receiving a knockout blow by a baseball bat. Ms. Darabi and Mr. Sotoudeh escaped after robbing the safe of the house. However, Ms. Darabi left her bag there, and her boyfriend refused to return to the victim's house and take it. Therefore, she called her ex-suitor, Said, for help. Said went to the house and brought back the bag, but he also contacted Ms. Darabi's father, who called the police. Finally, both Delara and Amir Hossein were arrested. The case of Delara Darabi was sent to Branch 10 of the Rasht courthouse for arraignment the next day, December 29, 2003. Reconstruction of the murder scene took place on December 30, 2003. She was denied access to an attorney during the first days of her detention. Delara Darabi was tried in various courts. Her first trial took place at Branch 10 of the Rasht courthouse on January 15, 2004, only 18 days after her arrest. The court condemned her with an unusual expediency that was rare at the time. Darabi's father hired a well-known attorney in Rasht for the first trial. However, the attorney was not present during the first session, where all other defendants and their attorneys were present, in addition to the victim's family. A few days after her arrest, while waiting for her trial, Delara Darabi wrote a letter to the case judge and claimed her innocence. She wrote, "I accepted the responsibility for the murder only because of my feeling for Amir and all his promises. I don't believe in any of my statements." She also rejected all her previous confessions about the murder during the court session on January 15, 2004. She claimed that Amir Hossain had given her some tranquilizing pills, and he killed the victim with the blows of a knife. During the court session, Ms. Darabi stated, "When Amir Hossain asked me to go to the victim's house, I had no idea that he had such an intention. I reject my primary statement. After my arrest for the murder charge, Amir Hossain told me several times that I won't be executed because I was under 18 years old. He asked me to take the responsibility of the murder, and I accepted out of naivete and because I loved Amir Hossain." In the court, however, Amir Hossain accepted his association in the murder and begged pardon from the victim's family. Darabi's case was sent to various courts to be investigated. The Supreme Court confirmed the court ruling for the first time on September 3, 2004. However, in order to investigate the pills taken by the defendant and the fact that she was under 18 years old, the Supreme Court referred the case to Branch 107 of the Public Court of Rasht. This branch investigated the case in 2 sessions. The first session took place on December 6, 2004, and Darabi's attorney was not present. The next session, with her attorney present, took place on February 9, 2005. The charges against Delara Darabi were the murder of Mahin Darabi on December 28, 2003, robbing her house, and having an illicit relationship. One of the most important problems of this case was the fact that Ms. Darabi was under 18 years old when the murder was committed. She was only 17 and should be tried in a children's court from the beginning. But this important issue was not considered during the primary trial. Also, according to the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Convention on the Rights of the Child, signed by Iran, capital punishment for an offense committed before the age of 18 is strictly prohibited. During various sessions, Ms. Darabi had announced that she was not the murderer. In explaining the events of the day the murder took place, she said, "That boy and I were lovers. A few days earlier, he told me that he had found a forged title certificate for the house of my father's cousin, Mahin. He claimed that someone wants to sell the house by this forged certificate. Therefore, he asked me to make an appointment with Mahin at her house to explain this to her. I did that, and we went to Mahin's house on the day of the incident. Amir Hossain had given me some pills, and I was aimless. After he went behind the back of the victim, he hit her with a baseball bat. Then, he tied her mouth and asked me to get him a knife. I aimlessly went to the kitchen and brought a knife. He took it and stabbed Mahin several times. I did not blow even once." Darabi was tried by a lower court in Rasht, found guilty and sentenced to death. The sentence was upheld by the Supreme Court. She maintained her innocence and claimed that she was under the influence of drugs during the burglary, despite making a confession and pleading guilty early. At this stage, the head of the judiciary had the power to order a stay of execution and a review of the case. The boyfriend Amir Hossain has reportedly received a prison sentence of 10 years as an accessory to the crime. The head of the judiciary officially granted a 2-month stay of execution, yet the go-ahead for her execution was given to Rasht prison authorities. Delara Darabi was executed at 5